Once again, I welcome you back to another class on communicative English, wherein we were discussing about subject-verb agreement. All right. So, if you can remember, it was clearly stated and informed that whenever we talk about subject-verb agreement, we have to keep in our mind that the agreement is between subject and verb, but only and only when the prepositional phrase starts with some, half, none, more, all. What do? We give importance to the object. What do we check is we check the object, and based on the object, what is it that we do? We add on the verb. We add on the kind of verb that follows or that suffice the need. Say, for example, you can see here, though all is the subject, but here the emphasis is on the object. If you remember yesterday, I have clearly stated that whenever these are the words, you should keep this in your mind. Some, half, none, more, all. Whenever these are the words, when these are followed by prepositional phrases, then what do? We check the object, and then based on the object, we include the verb. The object, based on the object, the verb that agrees with the object. Say, for example, when here we are talking about chicken, then we use the verb is. But when we are talking about chickens, which you can see in the next example, all of the chickens. So the verb that we use is are according to the agreement of the object. And this happens only when these are the words some, half, none, more, all, or such words, etc. are such kind of words. Whenever they are followed by the prepositional phrases, we should remember in such sentences, the object should be determined in order to include or in order to add the verb. All right. So let us understand about the other 10. If you remember yesterday, we discussed the first 10 rules, and today we are going to talk about the next 10. So whenever rule number 11 says that the singular verb form is usually used to measure the units of measurement. Whenever we are talking about the unit of measurement, could be like gallons, could be like dozen, could be like liters, meters, etc. You should always remember we will use only the present form. That is, whenever we are talking about the verb form, though these are in plural. So, for example, when you are talking about the gallons, there are 4 gallons, but of what? Of oil. So you need to remember whenever you see the measurement, units of measurement, it could be in meters, it could be in liters, it could be in kilometers, kilogram, anything. The unit of measurement of any of the object will be always accept. It will always take the verb form which is in singular. Say, for example, when we are talking about the object or the subject, please remember here the subject, it will always accept the verb in the to do form or to have form or to being form. All right. So you should remember whenever we are talking about the being forms, we are talking about is, am, are, was, were. Is, am, are, was, were. Now here, when we say is, am, and was, you should keep these 3 words in your mind. Whenever we talk about the units of measurement, it is always is or was that will be included. So next, rule number 12 says that if the subjects are both plural and they are connected by the words like or, nor, neither, nor, either, or, not only, but also, the verb form that we use is always plural. All right. So if you remember yesterday, we did that, right? So for example, if you remember the example, cat and the rat, the cat and the rat, whenever we are talking about such words, and another the verb that we use is always the plural one. You should keep this in your mind. The verb form will always be in the plural. So the rule number 13, it says that if one subject is singular and the other one is plural, the words that are connected by the word or, nor, neither, nor, either, or, not only, but also. You should always remember the verb form that is included with the subject should be nearest to the verb. Say, for example, you can see here, you're talking about sisters, right? You can see in the example, do your sisters or your girlfriend want any pizza? Now, here you can see there are plural. When we talk about the sisters, there are many. And when we talk about the friend, she's only one, an individual. So therefore here you need to identify the verb that will get included. All right, so you should focus on such things. So here you will have to remember, as it is do form, so here it is only want. Now if I change this, let me reverse this sentence and let me help you in understanding. Instead of your sisters, if it is your friend which comes ahead, does your girlfriend or your sisters want any pizza? All right, keep this in your mind. Now if this is not in the question form, if this is in the statement form, now can you convert the same sentence into a statement form? Quickly in the chat box, I am looking forward for your reply. Can you convert this particular statement or this particular the sentence that is given from the interrogative to a simple statement with a full stop? Let me see who's going to write and who's going to give me the answer. My sisters and my friend, okay, want pizza. Now here, when we are talking about my sisters and my friend, now here, Abhishek, you should remember friend. You're talking about an individual. So here it would be wants. All right. Your sisters or your friend wants pizza. Sahil, you are rightly mentioning the answer. Very good, Sahil. Ananta, remember, when we talk about friend, now this is he, she, it. Now we are talking about a girlfriend, so therefore it would be she. Yes, Pinto, it would be wants, not want. All right. So you should remember. But in case if I change the sentence, in case there is a change in the sentence, and if we are talking about the friend, first and then sisters later. If the friend is coming ahead and sister later, can you convert the sentence? Your girlfriend and your sisters dash pizza. What would be the word that you're going to fill in the blank with? Your girlfriend. Very good, Abhishek. Yes, it would be want, because when we are talking about the sisters, they are the plural, right? So please remember. Excellent, excellent. So everybody, I hope you could understand that whenever we are talking about the sentences, please remember subject which is singular. There is one subject which is singular. You can see here that there is a subject which is singular and there is another subject which is plural. The word that is connecting, or, nor, neither, nor, either, or, not only, but also, you should remember nearest to it. Say, for example, what is matching to this particular sentence? Say, for example, do your sisters. So here our focus is on sisters. Now, when we talk about the friend first, then it would be does your friend. All right, keep this in your mind. So keeping this in your mind, you have to always apply the subject and verb agreement rule. Don't get confused whenever you are adding or whenever you are including things. Indefinite pronouns typically take always the singular verb. Say, for example, everybody, nobody, somebody. So whenever you see this, even I believe yesterday we did that, each, every, some, none. So whenever there is an indefinite pronoun, we should always remember the verb form that would be always in the singular. So for example, here the object is singular, so therefore the verb form should match the subject. Based on the subject, it must match the subject, and then the verb that we are including should exactly go with the subject line. All right, except for pronouns, you must have used or you might have used different sentences like which starts with few or many or several or both. So they always accept the verb form in plural. So you have to always remember whenever you are writing few, Though we are talking about few, but few is not one, right? We are talking about some numbers may not be knowing exactly what is the number, but they are more than one. Similarly, when we talk about many, it is more than one. When we talk about several, it is more than one. When we talk about both, it is always more than one. So you should always remember, whenever we are using the sentences with words like few, many, several, both, the verb form that is included will always be either are or were. If it is in the present tense, it would be A-R-E-R. And if it is in the past tense, it would be W-E-R-E, were. You have to keep this in your mind. So I want everybody to keep a paper and pen with you and keep noting down these words. Like whenever we talk about few, many, several, both, the plural form of the verb, whenever we talk about the plural form, please remember, based on the subject, based on the subject, the verb that agrees with the subject, as the subject is plural, so the verb that you're going to include here would be either are or were. All right, keep this in your mind. So if you're talking about to do words, then it would be do, and if you're talking about have words, then it would be have, have. All right, so the next rule says that whenever we talk about two infinitives. Now, what do we understand by infinitive? Whenever we include to with any of the action word, this will become infinitive. Now, when we say infinitive, why is it called as infinitive? Because even if we are talking about one single individual, or if we are talking about number of people, this will remain same. Say, for example, I want to buy a pencil. We want to buy pencils. So to buy will remain same. So whenever we are talking about infinitives, and if these two infinitives are separated by and, they will always accept the verb form which is in plural. Say, for example, whenever we are talking about here, to walk and to chew gum require. Generally, the mistake which is done is people, they don't value this. They ignore. They'll just think to walk and to chew gum. Their focus is on gum. And so, what is the mistake that is done? Instead of required, they tend to write as requires, which is again wrong. All right, so this is a bit complex. You have to keep this in your mind whenever we are talking about two infinitives. And whenever we are talking about infinitives, infinitives are those words wherein the verb will be followed by the preposition to. All right, to buy, to sleep, to eat, to walk, to dance, to sing, to assign, to assess. So whenever we are talking about infinitives which are separated by the word and, to walk and to chew, to play and to sing and to dance. So always remember, whatever the verb that is there, it will always accept the form of the verb which is accepted by the plural, because here we are talking about two different subject based actions. We are talking about two different subject based action, and so therefore whenever we are talking about the action, but the subject which is there will be related to a particular object, and then based on that particular subject, the verb that is included is always in the plural form of the verb that is accepted. Then rule number 17 says whenever we are talking about gerund. Now let me help you in understanding what gerunds are. Gerunds are those wherein in the main verb we include ing. Say, for example, walk, walking, buy, buying, sing, singing, dance, dancing, play, playing. So, whenever we are talking about gerund, these are used as subjects when a sentence they are accepting the singular form of the verb. But when we are including two different actions, whenever we are including two different actions which are in gerund form, always remember the verb form that is to be added with the subject will be in plural. So whenever we are talking about the first example, I want you to focus on the first part of this particular rule. Whenever we are talking about the gerund, when the subject is in singular form. Say, for example, you cannot identify whether water is one or many. So always water is in the singular form. So the subject, when we are talking about the subject, always the verb form that is accepted is either is or was in the past. But when we are talking about two different actions, say for example, swimming in the ocean and playing drums. These are two different actions and there are two different subjects. Here, the first subject is ocean and the second one is drums. So please remember, as we have already discussed, whenever there are two subjects, always remember the verb form that is accepted is are in the present tense, were in the past tense. All right. So please keep this in your mind that whenever we are talking about two different subjects followed by gerund. Say, for example, when I say gerund, keep this in your mind. Swimming in the ocean. And the second one is playing drums. Now you can write swimming in the ocean is my hobby. Playing drums is my hobby. Now, when we are talking about the two different actions, swimming in the ocean and playing drums are my hobbies. I hope everybody could understand. All right. So keep this in your mind whenever we are talking about rule number 17. This is something that you have to keep in your mind. Collective nouns. Wherever you people have used or you may be using the collective nouns, please remember it is always it will always accept. It is the rule which you have to keep in your mind whenever we are talking about subject verb agreement with the collective noun. It is always to be taken in the singular form. Say for example, when we are talking about the word collective noun heard. All right, you know what herd is, right? So when we are talking about herd or team or class or crowd or mob, always remember they will always accept the verb form which is generally accepted by the singular subject, the singular the singular subject that we are mentioning here. So for example, the herd is stampeding. Similarly, the team is playing well. The class is making noise. The crowd is out of control. So you should always remember whenever we are talking about the collective nouns, the verb that is accepted with the subject. Though here we are talking about collective nouns, you may get a doubt that, ma'am, when we talk about collective nouns, there are many. Yes, of course, there are many, but they are given only one single name. So as they are given or identified with one singular name, what you have to do, you have to make the verb agree with the subject. And so therefore, here it is always the singular. But of course, you should remember, now if we are not talking about one single team, but when we are talking about different teams, then the teams are playing well. When we are not talking about one single class, we are talking about number of classes. The classes are going on or the classes are commencing from 4th January 2021. So you should keep this in your mind that the collective noun, when we are including the collective noun wherein it represents only one single group, then the verb that is agreed with the subject would be either is or was in the past tense. All right. So you should keep this again in your mind. All the title of the books, movie names, novels, etc. Always we are talking about one single book. We are talking about one single movie. We are talking about one single novel. So therefore, it will always accept the verb form based on the subject. All right. Say for example, though the name is the Burbs. Now you're not talking about the plural of the verb. This is just one single name. So the Burb is a movie starring Tom Hanks. So you should keep this in your mind. This is again very, very important. Often student gets confused. When they see here plural, they include ARER. No, you should remember this is one single name. All right. And as this is one single name, the verb that agrees with the subject is always singular. And then always remember, you should keep in your mind subject. If you really want to understand what subject verb agreement is, look and search for the right subject. If you know what is the right subject, accordingly, you can include the verb. If you cannot understand the subject, it will be difficult for you to identify and understand the right verb, and then you cannot include, or you cannot understand, you cannot add on the regular verb which can agree with the subject. So please remember this. This is the thumb rule, you can say. This is the rule which everybody has to keep in your mind, that whenever we are talking about subjects will affect the verb. All right, so you should keep this in your mind. Subject matters a lot. If you cannot identify the right subject, you will not be able to identify even the right verb. All right, so that's all in the session related to subject verb agreement. What I want you to do is, I will will be conducting a doubt session tomorrow, wherein I want you to go through once again the complete 20 rules. In case if you have any doubt related to any rule, you can let me know in the chat box. All right, so I have already received a comment stating that Prerna Kumari wants to know about rule number 14. So please remember, Prerna, whenever we are talking about rule number 14, these are the words. I want you to understand what are indefinite pronouns. Indefinite pronouns are like nobody, somebody. All right, so whenever you are talking about these verbs, these are the pronouns. So whenever we are talking about these words like nobody, somebody, anybody, everybody, so when you include such indefinite pronoun, the verb will always be in singular. Say, for example, whenever we are talking about the subject here, we are not talking about plural. Everybody. No, the word every is meant for one. So you should keep this in your mind. So if we are talking about everybody, that means we are talking about individual in say, for example, each person as an individual. So always the verb form that accepts with such kind of indefinite pronoun is in the singular. So, for example, if we are talking about do or does, it would be does form. If we are talking about is, am, are, it will always be is. If we are talking about was and were, it would be always was. So you have to keep this in your mind whenever we are talking about indefinite pronoun. For this, you should know what are indefinite pronouns. All right. So if you are talking about indefinite pronoun, there are list of indefinite pronoun: everybody, somebody, nobody. So you should keep all these indefinite pronouns in your mind. So whenever you are talking about indefinite pronoun, the verb form that will get added along with the subject is always based on the singular subject. So whatever the subject is, say for example here, if the subject is nobody, still it would be nobody wants to be loved, nobody wants to be hurt, nobody wants to be ignored. So here you should always remember it would be does form. So if I'm writing a sentence in continuous action. So, for example, if I'm talking about everybody is playing, everybody was playing. I cannot say everybody are playing. Everybody are playing would be a wrong sentence. Everybody want to be loved, again a wrong sentence. All right. So this is what the rule says. So if we are talking about do and does, it will accept does. If we are talking about has or have, it will always accept has. If we are talking about is, am, are, it will always accept is. If we are talking about was and were, it will always accept was. I hope I cleared your doubt, beta. So related to rule number 14, Pintu and Prerna, I think you people have got the understanding that whenever we are talking about such things here, please remember the words that will be included here. Now you should identify whether it is in the routine action. Here you can see this is in the routine action. So therefore, do or does. When we are talking about the present continuous, it will accept is. When we are talking about the past continuous, it will accept was. So keep this in your mind whenever we are talking about indefinite verbs. The kind of verb, it will, if it is to do verb, or if it is to have verb, or if it is to being verb, what is the word that we have to keep in our mind? Does, has, is, was. Does, has, is, was. All right, dear. So this is related to the rule number 14. Now moving ahead towards 11th one. Please remember whenever we are talking about the measurement. Now, generally, what we do is we tend to see here, say, for example, 4 dozens of banana. Now, when I see 4 dozens or 10 dozens or 20 gallons or 20 meters, 30 liters, we get carried away and we say that, oh my God, we are talking about plural. So here it should be were instead of was, right? So that is again wrong. You should always remember, though the numbers are mentioned here, but the main subject is the information that is mentioned here. 4 gallons of what? Oil. 3 dozens of what? Banana. 10 dozens of what? Apple. Or 20 meters of what? Cloth. So based on that, you are going to include the verb. All right, dear. So Tanya, I hope I cleared your doubt better. So please remember, whenever there are units of measurement, which could be better liter, meter, anything. Now, there can be different units of measurement. When we talk about length, it may vary. When we are talking about the clothes, it may vary. When we are talking about the land, it may vary. So whenever we are talking about any units of measurement, though the unit of measurement will be in plural, but the subject will remain one, right? So based on the subject, I repeat, based on the subject, you have to identify the verb, and then accordingly you are going to include it. I hope I cleared your doubt better. Then coming to the next doubt that is raised by Miss Ananta related to rule number 19. Now here, please remember the names. Whenever we are talking about the name of the book, say for example, there is a book named or there is a movie named Four Brave Boys. Now, when you see Four Brave Boys, what is the concept that you get in your mind? Okay, this particular movie is talking about four brave boys, right, dear? Now, we tend to add plural. Say, for example, the movie Four Brave Boys are very interesting. Generally, people commit mistake, but we are not talking about four brave boys. We are talking about one single movie, isn't it? What is the name of the movie? Four Brave Boys. So, based on the title, you should not get confused. The title could be in plural form, but those titles are related to either one book or one movie or one novel. So whenever you are talking about the titles, you can see here the birds. This is one title, isn't it, dear? So when it is one title, please remember, once when there is one title, you should always remember the verb will agree with it would be is. Right. So you should understand based on the information shared. So yes, Peter, whenever we are talking about learning anything, we have to practice, and these practice sessions, Tanya, once when the syllabus is done, what we do is we will give you different assignments, all right, so that you will get ample of time to revise and then to identify and then to apply the rule, right, dear? It is very important to practice. Do you remember the four P's that we have discussed many a times? Plan, prepare, practice, and present. So if we do not prepare ourselves, we cannot present. And in order to prepare, you have to practice. And in order to practice, you should plan. That is the reason I want you to plan. All the 20 rules, they are absolutely simple. Generally, what is it that we are forgetting? We are forgetting subject. What is it that we are missing? We are missing this main concept that is called a subject. It is not verb subject agreement. Rather, it is subject verb agreement. So, what the verb should agree with? The verb should agree with the subject. The day when you identify the right subject, all right, so you should know what the subject is. If you can identify the right subject, automatically you will see, you will be able to connect it with the right verb. And when we are talking about the verb, generally, we are talking about the auxiliary verbs. Now, whenever we are talking about modals like can, could, may, might, would, should. Now, these common modals, these are the 6 common modals. So, whenever you are talking about common modals, always remember, they will always remain without any change, and they will always keep the verb in agreement. Say, for example, whenever I am changing it with can, the verbs can, be, you will include the word here, be, a fantastic movie. All right. So you should keep this in your mind whenever we are talking about the verb that we are including with the subject. Subject, based on the subject, based on the information that is shared in the sentence, you should identify what is the right verb. So in future classes, we are going to talk about, we would be talking about different concepts related to modal, and then we are going to go ahead with active and passive voices and direct and indirect speeches. All right, Aradhana, what I'll do is immediately I'm going to share the PPT with you all so that you people can revise it. All right, dear. And then accordingly, I will appreciate if you have any doubts after going through it, after practicing it once or twice. Definitely you will have one or the other doubt. So whenever you people have any doubt, don't hesitate in asking. Tomorrow's class would be related to doubt clearing session related to subject verb agreement. All right, dear, which will start at 11 a.m. So thank you very much for attending today's class. I want you all to please remember that grammar rules are told and taught to us many times. Still we commit mistake. Why do we commit mistake? Because we are still confused with its right application. We do not know where to apply what. That is the reason, though the rules are read by you all, though you have by hearted all the rules. If I am talking to any student who is or who has pursued BB or BCA course, believe me, they will always say, ma'am, I know the grammar rules. Of course, dear, you know the grammar rules, but the problem is when you cannot identify what to apply where. All right, so keep this in your mind. All right. Thanks, Tanya, for sharing that link once again to your friend. God bless you all. Take care of yourself and have a fantastic day. All right. So I want you to prepare, not to forget this. Tomorrow's session would be doubt clearing session. So I will be clearing all your doubts related to subject verb agreement. We'll be sharing this PPT on your email address. Take care of yourself. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.